I will be doing nutrition today. Nutrition is a fairly easy topic. Before we hit Ramzan, this is actually your last class before we hit Ramzan. And I don't think I'll be able to finish the entire chapter. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing general nutrition, the nutrition amoeba, planaria, hydra, and the cockroach. And nutrition in human beings I'm going to leave for post Ramzan. Uh, because you guys have already done that in O levels. So this is going to take a lot of time. Okay. So first we'll begin with general nutrition. Okay. I'll be using your books and this presentation. So make sure your books are open. Okay. Chat option is open if you want to ask any questions. So nutrition is a process by which organisms obtain their energy to maintain the function of life. So build the matter and maintain their structure. Nutrients, on the other hand, are food or any substances which supplies elements and energy to the living body for its metabolic activities. Okay, so there are two types of nutrition: autotrophic or heterotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is when organisms prepare their own food from raw materials, whereas heterotrophic organisms or heterotrophic nutrition is where uh, they take in prepared food from their surroundings. Okay. Autotrophic nutrition is the type of nutrition in which organic compounds are manufactured by living organisms from available inorganic or organic material taken from their surroundings. These molecules of raw material are small and soluble enough to pass through cell membranes. In autotrophic nutrition, the nutrients do not require to be penetrated before and are digested before taking them into the cell. There are two types of autotrophic nutrition. You have phototrophic nutrition and chemotrophic nutrition. Phototrophic nutrition is when when food or organic molecules are manufactured from other molecules by using light energy as a source is called phototrophic nutrition. Again, phototrophic nutrition is nutrition when light energy is used. Um, so you can have nutrition in plants, which are numerous, and then you have phototrophic nutrition also in photosynthetic bacteria. Okay, with plants, but we studied this last class. They use carbon dioxide, water, some minerals, and they need to have green pigments, such as chlorophyll for the absorption of light energy, and obviously they need to have light energy. The end result of photosynthesis is a glucose molecule, water, and oxygen. And that is what drives the entire humanity. So, again, with plants, you need to have carbon dioxide, water, you need to have you need to have light energy, you need to have chlorophyll, which is a green pigment absorbing that energy, and then also you need to have different minerals, which will work as cofactors for uh, nutrition to go for photosynthesis to go forward. And then you have photosynthetic bacteria. Photosynthetic bacteria are different types. There are some bacteria in which um, oxygen is required. There are some bacteria which do not require oxygen, and they're called oxygenic or non or anoxygenic, as you can see in the picture. Oxygenic bacteria are those which basically are cyanobacteria. Anoxygenic means then you can have other bacteria in which you have H2S as an electron donor and organic electron donors, other organic electron donors. H2S is hydrogen sulfide. These bacteria take in these bacteria instead of using water use hydrogen sulfide and release sulfur as a component as a byproduct. You could have purple and green sulfur bacteria in this, and similarly with other organic electron donor bacteria, you can also have purple and green bacteria. Okay, that's all you need to know. And just one more thing that you need to know is that both of these bacteria, they contain a pigment called bacteriochlorophyll, which essentially is your energy capturing pigment. Okay, bacteriochlorophyll. I'm just gonna type it out so you guys can quickly. It's called bacteriochlorophyll. bacteriochlorophyll, which is your main energy capturing pigment. Okay, ठीक है. This gets done with your uh, autotrophic nutrition. Let's talk about chemotrophic nutrition. Chemotrophic nutrition is when chemotrophs are organisms that obtain energy by the oxidation of electron donors in our environment. These molecules could either be organic or inorganic. The chemotrophic designation is in contrast to phototrophs, which use solar energy. They can use sources such as hydrogen sulfide, elemental sulfur, ferrous iron, molecular hydrogen, and ammonia. An example of this is your bacteria, which are present in the soil, which use ammonia, okay, and drive not only the nitrogen cycle but also provide nitrates for the plants. Okay, these are those are called chemotrophs. That's an example of chemotrophic nutrition. They take in ammonia, they convert it to more soluble, more useful nitrates, which are then taken up by plants for further processing. Okay, so those are chemotrophic. Okay. Did you guys hear me? My internet connection, I think, was unstable for a bit. Can you guys hear me? Great. So let's continue. Then you next page of your notes, you see there is mineral nutrition in plants. This you guys need to know. बहुत डिटेल में नहीं, लेकिन हर किसी के थोड़े थोड़े चीज़ें याद होनी चाहिए. Nitrogen is by far the most important. It is found in the soil in the form of nitrates and ammonium salts. Uh, the deficiency symptoms of nitrogen is the leaves that turn plain yellow, and it's called chlorosis. Chlorosis is when the leaves turn pale yellow. Nitrogen deficiency में chlorosis आएगा. उसके अलावा cell division and cell enlargement are inhibited. Rate of respiration is affected. Plant growth is stunted, and prolonged dormancy in early senescence, including leaf falls. Right, early senescence is when leaf falls and dies. Next one, you have phosphorus. Phosphorus is not really important. But for phosphorus, what you need to know is it affects it is actually an essential element in the formation of cell membranes as phospholipids, nucleic acids, and coenzymes, NADP and NADP. NAD and NADP, which will eventually form NADH and NADPH, and organic molecules such as ATP are all contain phosphorus. Okay, so cambial activity is reduced. Cambial activity is which causes secondary growth in plants. Variable colors can develop. उसके अलावा thickening of tracheal cells is reduced and phloem differentiation becomes incomplete. Phosphorus is not really मतलब you need to know basic fluorescence में जो color changes as such नहीं आते. याद रखना कि it is a mineral which is important basically all reactions. And इसमें cambial activity आपकी mainly decrease होगी. Tilting of crop होगी, which basically is segmentation. Growth is retarded, necrotic patches can appear on leaves and stems. फिर आता है potassium. पोटाशियम में कलर चेंज होता है ब्लूइश ग्रीन में टल और ये जो कलर चेंज वाले होते हैं ये बहुत पूछते हैं, सो ये याद रखना. ठीक है, ब्लूइश ग्रीन कलर होता है, इरेगुलर क्लोरोसिस होता है इनिशियली, बट देन नेक्रोटिक पैचेस बन जाते हैं. ठीक है. And lastly, that we're going to study is magnesium. It is present in the soil and is water soluble, exchangeable, and present as a primary mineral. It is essential for the synthesis of fats and metabolism of carbohydrates and phosphorus. Deficiency develops earlier on the older leaves and then systematically towards younger leaves. Chlorosis इसमें भी होता है. ठीक है, necrotic वो भी होते हैं, necrotic spots भी होते हैं. Do you guys know what necrosis is? What is necrosis, guys? I think in a better definition, shedding down something, not necessarily, or किसी का better term है necrosis का. Death of cells, exactly. Necrosis is death of cells or death of which if death of cells होगा तो tissue damage भी हो जाएगा, ठीक है. Necrosis is when there is damage and which results in cell death. Okay, which will eventually cause shutting down, Fatima, but it is actually death of cells. Okay. सो मैग्नीशियम में आपका नेक्रोटिक पैचेस आएंगे, मतलब जो सेल्स की डेथ होगी तो वो पैचेस में नेक्रोसिस आएगा, ब्लैक कलर के पैचेस आते हैं नेक्रोसिस से. ये सिर्फ प्लांट्स में नहीं होता, नेक्रोसिस ह्यूमन बींग्स में भी होता है, किसी चीज़ में भी हो सकता है. सो फॉर एग्जांपल स्ट्रोक के पेशेंट्स जो होते हैं या एमआई के पेशेंट्स होते हैं, तो स्ट्रोक में फॉर एग्जांपल ब्रेन में आपको नेक्रोसिस दिख सकता है, ठीक है. जब आपका स्ट्रोक होता है तो what as a result what happens is there is a deficiency of oxygen, and when there is a deficiency of oxygen, what will eventually happen is there will be cell death, which you can visibly appreciate on autopsy. Okay, so necrosis is cell death. Then let's come to heterotrophic and special mode of nutrition plants. Some plants are heterotrophic, okay, which is essentially that they do not produce their own food and they take food sources from they take food from other sources. इसमें parasitic plants होते हैं, इसमें saprophytic plants होते हैं, and इसमें carnivorous plants होते हैं. What is the difference between parasite and predatory? Guys, this is something that we've done millions of times now. What is the difference between parasites and predatory? Predatory क्या होते हैं? Parasites eat and kill, and predatory kill and eat. Very good. Parasites will eventually cause damage and then eat. Predatory kill and kill someone and then eat. Okay. So parasitic plants are plants which obtain their food from other organisms. They can be of two types: obligatory or partial. Obligatory parasitic plants are plants which depend on other organisms for their food and cannot produce their own food at all. Whereas partial parasitic plants are plants which can make their own food, um, and at times they want food from other sources, but they can also partially prepare their own food. Okay. Parasitic plants produce special root-like structures called haustoria, which are present on the host plant, and then they penetrate the host plant to absorb food material. ठीक है, इसमें आपके चार टाइप्स के हो सकते हैं: partial stem parasite, total stem parasite, partial root parasite, and total root parasite. Partial stem parasite essentially means that the haustoria of the predatory plant is attached on the stem of the host plant and takes some of the food from partially takes the food from the host plant and partially produces their own food. Whereas total stem parasite essentially is present on the stem of the host plant and takes all. Ira's screen is not frozen. I am using your notes. I'm just reading off the notes. If you guys do you have your notes open, Ira? इसके बाद I will come on the screen Amoeba पे. तब तक I'm just going to use the notes, okay? Because this is just what you need to read from the notes. सही है? Partial stem plants and total stem parasite में फर्क ये है कि दोनों stem पे present होंगे. एक partially dependent होता है, एक totally dependent होता है. Whereas partial root plants and partial total root plants में फर्क ये है कि both are present on the roots, both penetrate the roots of the host plant, but one is partial and the other one is total. That means one can depends halfway Halfly on the host plant, whereas total root parasites, it is completely dependent. Then you have your saprophytic plants. These eat dead organic matter. They do not contain chlorophyll. Guys, what you need to know is an example of two of each. तो एक दफा book से example पढ़ लेना, सबके examples book में दिए हुए हैं, ठीक है ना? And then you have your carnivorous plants. Carnivorous plants are plants which actually kill and eat, ठीक है ना? You have your pitcher plant, sundew plant, Venus flytrap plant, bladderwort, and water flytrap plant. I've given, if you look in the notes, there are small descriptions given of each. You can just read them and that's about it. You don't really need to go into a lot of detail about this. Okay. So that completes nutrition in plants. Let's come to heterotrophic nutrition in animals. Holozoic, saprozoic, and parasitic nutrition again. Holozoic nutrition is defined as a nutrition in which animals take solid organic food. It is digested by the action of enzymes and then it is assimilated to release energy by oxidation process. So basically, what happens is you take food as whole and then you digest it and assimilate it. We're gonna just talk about what is assimilation in a bit. Okay. Saprozoic nutrition is when plants take the nutrition from dead organic substances, and parasitic again as plants when animals take the nutrition from other organisms or other host organisms. Okay. Then you can divide animals on the basis of feeding. You have your herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. Herbivores are basically vegetarians. What they eat herbs and plants. Carnivores are basically non-vegetarians, which eat other animals or smaller species primarily. You have your omnivores, which are a combination of both. Human beings are omnivores. We eat our vegetables, but we also eat our meat. Similarly, you have your detrivores, which take in their nutrition from organic debris. You have a filter feeders and fluid feeders. Remember हमने filter feeders क्या था sponges में जो filter करता है water and take in the nutrition from that. And fluid feeders are feeders which basically drink some sort of fluid and take the nutrition from there. For example, mosquitoes, they take fluid from human beings and eat it from there. I'm still reading your book, guys. It's just an easy read from the book. Just read it once you guys are revising this chapter. Okay. Microphagus and macrophagous feeders. Microphagous feeders are feeders which basically take small particles of food. Okay. And macrophagous feeders are which take large particles of food. Now, if you guys can open your book, microphagous, do you see the definition? Is it written small particles of dead organic matter? Check that, please. Okay, so you can just cut it out and just write it small particles of food. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be dead. So small particles of food. Okay, just cut it out for both. Furkan, I'm using my laptop. Can someone just tell him the page number, please? Okay, both in micro and both in macrophagus, you just have to write small particles or large particle of food. Okay, are we good? Are we good? Great. Then there are steps of holozoic nutrition. Again, you ingest the food, you digest the food, you absorb the food, you assimilate the food, and then there's digestion of the food. Ingestion is when you take in the food. Digestion is when you're digesting it. You are breaking down to much more soluble components. Absorption is when you're absorbing those soluble components. Assimilation is when the components are assimilated inside the cells. And energy is taken away from them, and then all the waste material is then taken out, which is called ingestion of waste products. Okay, so 5 steps: ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and ingestion. Okay, There could be intracellular or extracellular types of digestion. Intracellular is which takes place inside the cell. Extracellular is which takes place outside the cell. Extracellular digestion which takes place in your digestive systems. Intracellular is which takes place inside the cell. There could be physical and chemical digestion. We've done this before, remember? Physical is when basically there's churning and there's muscle contraction, and depending on your wall uh, action of your stomach and intestines is which is physical digestion. Chemical is when you're using enzymes. Then we did something called sac-like and tube-like digestive system. Does anyone know? Sac-like and tube-like क्या होता है? What is sac-like digestive system? What is tube-like digestive system? We've done this before. Come on, guys, come on. Sac-like is one opening. Very good. What is tube-like? Eliza. Great. So human beings में क्या होता है? Sac-like होता है, tube-like होता है. Very good. So sac-like is essentially a pouch-like system where your excretory opening and your ingestion opening is the same, whereas a tube-like digestive system is there are two openings, two different openings, one for the mouth and one for the anal canal, such as in human beings. Okay. With that, we're done with general nutrition. Now we come to nutrition amoeba. Okay. Amoeba is an important single cell. Now you guys can look into the slideshow. I'm done with the notes. ठीक है, जो notes में है वो slideshow में ही हम देखेंगे, ठीक है? So amoeba is an important single cell organism found in fresh water. The microscopic protozoa are an omnivore which basically feeds on both plants and animals. They mostly feed on diatoms, algae, microscopic organisms, and other dead organic matter which is present in water. The mode of nutrition in amoeba is holozoic, which basically it takes the whole thing and then it digests. Nutrition in amoeba occurs through a process called phagocytosis. और हमें कहाँ दिखता है phagocytosis? Where do we see phagocytosis? Come on, guys, where do we see phagocytosis? Very good reason. WBCs. WBCs also show phagocytosis. Okay. So if you can see the picture, this is what nutrition amoeba looks like. Okay. There is a food particle present. It basically forms two pseudopodia. Pseudopodia falls feed. This is called ingestion. Once the food particles are ingested, digestion happens. Then happens the absorption. So basically, it's broken down to more soluble particles. They enter the cell. Assimilation is when they're used inside the cell for energy, and then it is all excreted out. Okay. Ingestion is a process in which the food is taken into the body by either by swallowing or absorbing it. Initially, when the amoeba smells some food nearby, they push out pseudopodia and it encircles the food. After it engulfs the food, it forms a bag-like structure called food vacuole, and this process is known as phagocytosis. In amoeba, the food vacuoles are transported deeper into the cell with the help of digestive enzymes. The large and soluble foodstuffs are completely broken down to small soluble molecules. This is called digestion. Then is absorption. In the process of absorption, the nutrients from the digested food materials are absorbed into the cell cytoplasm by leaving behind undigested food material to the wall of the food vacuole. The excess food is stored in the form of glycogen and lipids. Assimilation is the process of obtaining energy from these absorbed food molecules. In amoeba, the absorbed food is utilized for energy production for its growth. And lastly, egestion is when the leftover food is just thrown out of the amoeba cell. It is thrown on by a process known by something known as a contractile vacuole. The vacuole actually just contracts and pushes water and everything waste out of the amoeba cell. So this is what happens in amoeba. Let's go to what happens in hydra. Hydra is a small water fresh organism of the phylum Cnidaria. ये हम सब पढ़ चुके हैं. ठीक है. It's aquatic diploblastic. Diploblastic क्या होता है बेटा? Come on, tell me guys, what is diploblastic? What is diploblastic? एक होता था triploblastic, एक होता है diploblastic. What is diploblastic? What is diploblastic? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Guys, what is diploblastic? Does anyone remember what diploblastic is? We've done this before. Very good, Hassan. Diploblastic is when there are two, yes, endoderm layer and ectoderm layer. Diploblastic is when there are two layers. Triploblastic is when there are three layers. Okay, endo, meso, and ecto. And diploblastic, there are two layers, endo and ecto. Okay. So amoeba is a diploblastic colontrate animal with a vase-shaped or a sac-like digestive system. It is a microphagosphere. That means it takes small particles of food, which includes crustaceans, small annelids, and insect larvae. Uh, Obviously, it does not eat a bird as is shown here, but it does take small particles of food. What happens is the prey is paralyzed or killed by stinging cells, which are these ones on top, if you can see. Okay, then they push the prey inside the digestive cavity. So the dead prey comes inside. Once inside, the glandular cells of the gastroderm secrete enzymes which digest partially, which digests the prey partially, called extracellular digestion. Then the food is mixed, it is churned, so which is called physical digestion. Okay, and then it is absorbed inside the cell where further digestion takes place, and it's called intracellular digestion. The digested food is fused at the cells of the epidermis, and whatever is left is then just thrown out of the mouth of the hydra, because it does not have an anal canal. Okay, it is called sac-like digestive system. Hydra shows both extracellular and intracellular digestion, and also shows both physical and chemical digestion. Okay. Then we come nutrition in Planaria. Planaria is a free-living flatworm found in freshwater and streams and ponds. It is an opening called mouth on the ventral side. Mouth opens to muscular pharynx, okay, which leads to intestines having three branches. Okay. So if you can see the mouth over here, pharynx, and then three branches. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then further divides into blind branches. Okay. Uh, Fine branches are called diverticula. Planaria feeds upon small worms, crustaceans, snails, and dead animal debris. It engulfs the prey by pushing through its pharynx and pushes it back with food into the gastrovascular cavity. The food is digested with the help of enzymes, and extracellular digestion takes place. Then tiny food particles are engulfed by phagocytic cells, where digestion is completed, called intracellular digestion. Now, through the diffusion, every cell receives the food for assimilation. Undigested food is thrown out again, but through its mouth, as Planaria just has a sac-like digestive system. So over here, food enters, and then it's whatever is eaten, and then the rest is just thrown out. Okay. Simple. Are you guys understanding it now? We've done amoeba. Amoeba pseudopodia use करता था. Hydra और Planaria similar हैं. Sac-like systems हैं. दोनों के intracellular और extracellular digestion होती है. Are you guys okay? Are you guys understanding? Great, Tamina. Let's do nutrition in cockroach. Nutrition cockroach is holozoic. As I said, they take in substance as whole and is an omnivore, which basically means plants and animals both. Um, it takes in piece of food that has to grind before digesting them. Thus, its mouth parts are modified accordingly. Foregut consists of a mouth surrounded by mouth parts. The mouth cavity is called the pharynx. It continues as an esophagus, and that is short and narrow and thin walled. The canal then enlarges into the crop. If you can look at the here, look at here, and the gizzard. Okay? The entire foregut is lined with chitin. In the gizzard, the chitin forms proventricular teeth to facilitate grinding of the food. So basically, crop and gizzard is where all the food is grinded. So a cockroach का क्या था? Mouth था, esophagus, crop and gizzard. ठीक है? उसके बाद the cockroach has two types of glands, the salivary glands and the hepatic gland. ठीक है? It's present in the midgut. Midgut में it is also known as the mesotron. It is a narrow, short, and tubular structure. At the junction of the gizzard and the mesotron, there are six to small finger-like projections known as hepatic ceca. They're hanging in the hemocyte, ending blindly that opening in the midgut. So you remember hemocyte क्या था? Cockroach it does has an open circulatory system, so everything is bathed in what in a fluid known as the hemocyte. Okay. Hepatic ceca produces digestive enzymes. With the help of these digestive enzymes, the digestion of food takes place in the mesotron, which is the midgut. After digestion, the food nutrients such as carbohydrates, fats, and proteins absorbed by the midgut. Remaining nutrients absorb and water are absorbed in the hindgut, especially in the rectum. So ये आपका midgut है. Midgut में आपकी hepatic ceca होता है. Hepatic ceca and salivary glands होते हैं दोनों. Hepatic ceca essentially which are just release digestive enzymes which digest the food and absorb. Okay, the rest of the food is absorbed in the rectum. Hindgut is the coiled structure consisting of anterior ileum, middle colon, and posterior rectum. The rectum opens to the exterior through the anus. So rectum आपके anus में exterior से बाहर आ जाता है, ठीक है? Hindgut is lined by cuticle at the stomach of the junction. At the junction of the stomach and the ileum attach a numerous long tubes called the Malpighian tubules. Again, Malpighian tubules are more related to excretion. वो हम बात करेंगे, ठीक है? In the hindgut, absorption of water takes place, and undigested food is released as the form of pellets through the anal canal. Okay, this is how digestion takes place. Let's just go over once more. Midgut, foregut में सबसे पहले आपका foregut आता है, उसमें mouth होता है, esophagus और crop and gizzard आता है. Crop and gizzard में essentially जहाँ आपका प्रेजेंट होता है जो आपके फूड ग्राइंडिंग प्लेसेस. यहाँ सलाइवरी ग्लैंड ओपनिंग्स भी होती हैं जिसकी वजह से आपका फूड सॉफ्टन होता है, ठीक है. फिर आ जाता है आपका मिडगट. मिडगट में हेपेटिक सी की ओपनिंग्स भी होती हैं, सलाइवरी ग्लैंड्स भी होते हैं और यहाँ आपका food digestion takes place, ठीक है. When food digestion takes place, all the food is broken down into smaller components and it is absorbed by uh, by cells and taken inside the body. The rest of the food is pushed into the foregut जहाँ पे rectum होता है और ileum colon rectum होता है. यहाँ आपके water and other nutrients absorption होती है जो बच जाता है pellets के form में. It is thrown out of the anus. Do you guys understand? Great. So guys, I'm gonna finish here today. ठीक है, I am not going to continue because sorry, give me one second. Yes, I'm not going to continue because the next thing that we're going to do is nutrition in human beings. Nutrition in human beings is something that I'm going to do. I need a whole class for that. So that is something that I'm going to do once we come back from Ramzan holidays. Okay. Any questions, people? Any questions, guys? So no questions from Ira. Anyone else? Great. So, guys, stay safe. Have a safe Ramadan, and hopefully we will continue post Eid. You will have a somewhat of a pre-mock, and we'll test you on all chapters that you've done till date. Okay, so make sure you guys keep on going over stuff, and that's about it. Eat loads, have fun, and I shall see you guys after Ramadan. Okay, so take care, guys, and that's about it. Bye bye. Thank you guys. Bye bye.